And so, as I say, we have become shamans, in my personal opinion, or shamanistic warriors, mortal shamans, not godly shamans like Odin and Freya. Okay, and in interest, the text that I'm reading from, that I've written up, there was directly underneath that a reference to the berserkers as being warrior shamans, and this is and why Odin took so much interest in the berserkers, because they themselves were shamans just like Odin, and they would take Odin's patronage, and that was it. Okay, they would take his patronage, and they would dedicate themselves to Odin. Now, this was what was in Nordic society, and there may have been other war bands, but from what we know, that the only thing war band that we know that were these warrior shamans were known as the berserkers. There was one other group that was known amongst the Nords. There may have been more, but I'm sure there were more. But this was the only one that we know of that was acceptable for men to join. So yourself and me, we are berserkers under the Nordic belief system. Oh, by the way, this is part 3, guys. I just noticed my video has cut. My camera does it automatically. So this is part 3 of Odin. Okay, and so what you might find, Celtic God, what you might find interesting is that we are berserkers, we are warrior shamans, and in theory, our patron god by default is Odin, which I find quite unusual for myself, seeing I was taken by Freya. But there we go. Maybe that's because she has a particular goal for me to undertake. But there was another form of shamanism, and this is where I feel that maybe this is why Freya took me. There was a form of other shamanism, a group of shamans that you could join as a mortal, and those were those who practiced the magical tradition of Seda, of which Odin and Freya were both the foremost divine practitioners. Freya was the most powerful, but Odin weren't too far behind, to be honest. He was pretty good at Seda magic. Now, in traditional Germanic society, a man to engage in Seda and to join a warband or group of Seda practitioners, essentially forsake his gender role within society. He wasn't shunned, he wasn't outlawed, he wasn't treated negatively in any other way. He was just suddenly not seen as a man anymore. He would be seen as a woman, ultimately, or as a genderless individual. However, Odin did practice Seda magic, and there were men who did practice Seda magic, and it, even though it was seen as being unmanly, it's still nonetheless something that you could, in theory, go and practice and be part of. So I don't know, am I berserker or am I Seda? Even though traditionally being Seda would be unmanly, we don't live in traditional times anymore. Okay. Secondly, Odin didn't give a shit, and I don't give a shit. I'm very much like Odin. I don't give a shit. If I feel that Seda magic is the way that I should go, that I should be a member of the Seda group of the waking dream individuals, okay, the shamanistic warriors, the shamans. As a shaman, if I should be a practitioner of Seda magic, then so be it. I should be a practitioner of Seda. Or should I be a berserker? I mean, I'm suited for a berserker. I know how to fight, and everything like that. And that was the main thing, was that you were a good fighter, pretty much, for a lot of berserkers, as well as being obviously brave and fierce. Now, we get finally onto, and that's just a little footnote just to add in, I'm trying to find my place in all of this. I'm not sure whether I belong to the Seder or to the Berserkers. I feel like I belong to Freya. So, thus, do I practice Seder? I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Anyone who's watching this, perhaps give me your thoughts if you have any knowledge on such things. Okay. Now, one quick thing. Odin only spoke in poetry. He never spoke in anything but poetry. Enough. It's a bit boring to talk about that. He spoke only in poetry, and there was a reason for that. It was if you listen to my video that I did on the mead of poetry, you remember that they created Kavoshia. Well, he went around and stole Kavoshia at the end after he was killed, and used Kavoshia to allow him to speak constant poetry, but and would give it to those that he favoured the most, so that they could speak in perfect poetry, but also because when you would drink of Kavoshia, you also gained incredible ecstasy. It was intoxicating beyond question, and you had this overflowing ecstasy. It would just make you so happy, and it would really just make you feel really good. I suppose it'd be like the best drink in the world ever. Okay. Now, obviously, he was a god of the dead also. And that is pretty obvious because half the men who died went to Valhalla. Okay, the first half were chosen by Freya. The second half were chosen by Odin, and the men who dwelled in Valhalla were taken there by the Valkyries. And they would fight daily, every day. Every morning they'd wake up, fight to death, die, learn from their experiences, come back to life, learn from experiences, have no wounds, and then they would feast and they would drink all night and then wake up in the morning with no hangover. So that was the Hall of Valhalla, and so that's why Odin is considered one of the gods of the dead. Well, one of the reasons why he's considered one of the gods of the dead, because he collected dead spirits of dead men and took them to his hall. Okay, and he created an army out of them. Okay, but he's also, and this is something I never knew until recently, he also was a practitioner of necromancy. Now, that's not something I ever knew, but Odin actually practiced necromancy, and quite a lot as well, and that allowed him to communicate, but also to raise the dead also. So Odin is a very interesting character. He has a lot of tools in his belt, so to speak, which to use to advance himself and his people. Okay, I never knew he did necromancy. I didn't even know it existed within Nordic society. Now, as I say, the reason why he took the dead was for Ragnarok, and I've been over that, to help protect him against Fenrir and help prevent his death against Fenrir. Now, the one and last thing left to talk about is his title, the Allfather. Okay, and we come to the end of our videos then on Odin. So, as I say, it's a very detailed video. It's taken an hour and 15 minutes already, and we're still not finished, and I'm knackered. But he was described as the Allfather. More commonly, you would use the term Allfather than you would the name Odin, because Allfather was synonymous amongst all pagans, essentially. Well, no, was it synonymous amongst all pagans? I don't know. No, it wouldn't have been, actually. But it was synonymous amongst all Nordic pagans. If you said Allfather to another Nord, they'll know exactly who you mean. You mean Odin, okay? And the reason why he is called the Allfather is because basically, according to Snorri Sturluson, he is the father of all the gods. Now, I want to note here that he's not the father of all the gods, okay? He has a very, very diverse bloodline. Okay, he has many children, and he has many cousins and uncles and things like this. He's related to pretty much every single, and he may in fact be the father or grandfather or whatever, to every single. His blood may be in every single member of the Aesir tribe, but of course his blood is not in the Vanir tribe, and that's why I disagree with the statement made there. He's not the father of all gods. He's the father of all the Aesir tribe. Okay, so that's just my only correction there to make. The Vanir have no blood of Odin within them. Okay, and really, the other reason is because, well, he created Midgard, he created men, he created women, he created our lives, and he created our afterlives, or created one of our afterlives. And so, really, it's a title of respect, one that I believe should be used. Anyway, guys, it's been a long video, but it was a necessity. You knew it was going to be a long video, a big trawl through the most major god within Nordic paganism, and I hope I've taught you something. I hope you've understood what I've said. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment sections below. And other than that, I wish you all the best, and skull, as they say.